Hello and welcome to the Trail and Adventure Motorbike Podcast with me, Clive Barber, and my good mate, Noel Tom. For the days when you can't ride your bike, there's always the Trail and Adventure Motorbike Podcast.
Hi, here's Noel.
Hey, we're in the Honda Museum.
Hi, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm surviving. I've got old-fashioned man cold, not the hyped COVID stuff, but some traditional stuff there. So yeah, I have the, as I said to Clive here, the midnight caller voice today.
Great radio voice.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's very sexy. That's one. If we have any lady listeners, which we probably don't, because we don't have many listeners anyway. So
sexy, so sexy.
I think we have a 0.5% female audience.
Yeah, there are women out there that do ride, obviously, but I think they're certainly in the minority. We encourage them, come and join us.
We do.
Yeah, the idea of this, Robert, was really to celebrate the fact that we can, without having to ride for 4 days, we can arrive in Scandinavia via a ferry and enjoy all the best that Scandinavia has to offer. I've found some listeners actually from Denmark are going to join us, and I've asked Thomas to come and do those with us as well to add his expertise. But obviously you're the Sweden leg, and Thomas put us on to you to speak to you guys.
So I'm representing all of Sweden now. That's yeah.
You are effectively the trail riding king of Sweden.
Could we have the votes from Sweden now, please?
Yeah. They actually had a campaign a couple of years ago with Call a Swede. It was international. Every country on earth could call a number and it would randomly connect you to a Swede who was sort of participating in the program. So your phone could ring. It was someone from whatever country, wherever.
Did you get a call?
Yeah, but I didn't dare answer it, so it was connected to someone else. I was actually on my motorcycle when it rang. So.
Oh, imagine that someone had got through to you and you were on your bike. That would have been great.
I'm curious now afterwards. Yeah, but here we are. So you can ask a Swede whatever you want.
What we'd like to do is basically talk a bit about you and then tell us about Nomad Sweden and Stefan, Antoni, and I can't believe Seymour is a Swedish name.
I think it was a car model that his dad was into somehow. Yeah, well, it was something like that.
And then talk about your channel, and then to talk a little bit about Sweden and the riding in Sweden and the Swedish TED, your recommendations of places to go to, the best time and all that kind of good stuff.
Can I just ask, whereabouts in Sweden are you?
It's 1 hour from Gothenburg, but it's in the southernmost end of the big lake, the inner sea that we have, Lake Vänern. We say Lidköping. Yeah, Lidköping is the name of the place that we're from, and so it would be the southernmost populated part of Sweden.
Right.
Off-road wise, not the most exciting place because it's the flattest part of all of Sweden. It's like a pancake and it's farming country with all these fields and stuff. But we don't have to go that far to end up in a forest, since 75% of Sweden is forest. So
tell us about what you do for a living and family and all that kind of stuff.
I start with family, a wife, 3 kids that they're all grown up.
You don't look old enough, Robert.
Well, I just turned 50, and we all did. In 3 of us actually turned 50 last year. So yeah, that takes us into that part, I guess, because we're all friends since the 80s. I live in a house with my family, kids, a dog, and on the other side of the street, I have my office where I'm now, where I have a small firm, a company with software development. So that's why I'm this computer guy, I guess, and spend a lot of time in front of the computer. And
that's literally across the street.
52 steps.
Wow.
So yeah, I counted once, and if I don't do much that day, my step counter doesn't even sense it. So yeah.
You'd have to tell me what sort of software you develop, because I work for a big IT consulting company.
It's a marketing product, sending emails, SMS, forums, web pages and stuff. So our customers, they have this toolbox of communication Lego bricks, so to speak, that they can connect and build processes of. And yeah.
It's good that you're describing it with children's toys, because Noel will be able to understand it then.
Yeah. We're all into toys. That's why we're here, I guess.
Well, can I say, how did you feel about turning 50? Was it a big deal?
I'm thinking hard because I didn't really feel anything. I don't feel old at all, and that's what counts, I guess. So
you weren't surprised to get to 50 or anything like that?
No, not really. You get a lot of hints from friends, of course, but we still have a lot of years riding left.
Yeah, good thinking. But Noel and I are both 57 this year.
Oh,
I'm 56.
Oh, are you? That makes me older than you. Oh, blimey, you wouldn't know that, would you? Because I'm still kept my natural boyish good looks. But I think 57 makes you nearly 60, doesn't it?
last year I was oldest of the young guys, but now I'm the youngest of the old guys, so that's good.
So you said you know the other guys. You've known them for a long time, old pals.
It's not always been bikes, and we had a lot of years with family and stuff in between where we weren't that social. Then we found each other again and started riding. Yeah, we spend a lot of time together, actually. Even now when we don't ride in the winter, we see each other every week and hang out.
I always ask this, but had you ridden bikes as kids?
Not really. Tony is the one who's been most on bikes, trial bikes and enduros, and yeah, a lot of different bikes through the years. But the rest of us haven't. We are really late starters, actually. I got my license in 2000 was the year. Me and my wife, we got it together and got this Honda Shadow, not a very exciting bike to ride two up and just go see stuff for a few hours and then back home. But then when I hooked up with Stefan again, he had got in this Africa Twin. So I took that around the block, and then he started riding with Tony. And I think it was, as everybody says, I don't know anyone who's riding adventure bikes that didn't get influenced by the long way around.
This guy did.
Yeah. So of course we all ended up on big GS adventure 1200 bikes and dreamt about going around the world. And that's how it started, actually, with Stefan and Tony, because I just started riding again after all these years in between. This was in 2017. I'm quite new to that kind of riding. And they just got on the bikes and rode down to the border to Iran, I think it was, but they didn't get in there. So they took a northern track up through the Stans and over to Russia and Finland and over to Sweden and so on.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so they really took a big bite immediately. That got us all started, I guess.
And everyone seems to have become really good riders in a relatively short space of time, don't they?
I don't know. Seymour seems to fall off quite a lot.
Yeah, he. we use him for that. We all have roles, Porsche and sporty and all that, and he's the crashy. Yeah, so. Yeah, that's odd, because he's just as good a rider, and I fall down more than he does. But he just happened to take the biggest falls or problems like flats and trees and stuff like that.
He probably does it for the same reason that I do, just to get on the camera more. If you fall off and pretend that things are broken, you get more footage filmed of you.
Well, I mean, as the guy with the camera, you're always a little bit delighted when somebody stumbles and falls.
Yeah, it's good TV, of course.
So when did Nomad Sweden start then?
Actually, it was that trip that Tony and Stefan did down to Iran, and they just created this name and logo so that if they could get some sponsor or whatever, which they didn't even try to get that, I think, but they ended up with the logo and profiled the bikes with Nomad Sweden, and they went away on that trip. I wasn't ready for that, but I've always been creative on computers, and I've been making videos on everything on a different channel, just a private sort of storage for whatever, skiing. I've been quite active and doing a lot of mountain biking, downhill and enduro stuff, and martial arts and things like that. So I've always wanted to film stuff and edit it. It's just a fun way to be creative.
For you living in Sweden, taking that trip and going across all those countries, is that something that you've never done before, and it was only motorcycling that kind of gave you the idea to do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think none of us, of course, we all traveled somewhere, and we did more or less some backpacking at some point, but not. I think we actually started that kind of traveling when we got on the bikes. And I think perhaps it was the long way around that sort of, hey, you can do this kind of cowboy traveling. Yeah, all your gear on the horse's back and just...
Yeah, I mean, it's just that from where we are on the planet in the UK, going beyond France, say, always seems like a big deal. I know we once were on a European ride and we ended up in Slovenia, I think, did we?
We did, yeah. Yeah, I've still got a photograph of it, yeah.
And it felt so exciting to be just that one step, into the unknown. From your sort of place on the planet, is it a big deal to travel down through those countries, or don't you feel like lots of people do it?
As Swedes, we have always liked traveling. I think we are among the top countries to leave our own country to go other places. But it's mainly the type of traveling that is, I think it's exciting to leave my town on the bike because the adventure starts immediately and you don't have that, you're going from A to B, but you're looking at stuff and so on. So first, I've been traveling all over Europe, but first time I did leave the country on a bike, you look at things differently.
To me, if you go somewhere in a car, it's about going from A to B, and it's about the destination. Whereas if you go somewhere on a motorbike, it's about the journey, wherever you end up.
Yeah, for years I would drive up to Scotland and it would take maybe 6 hours. And when I got there, I'd get out of the car and have this huge sigh of relief that I'd got there. And then when I finally did it on a motorcycle, I was disappointed that I'd got there.
Yeah. And it's not only from your own perspective, but when you meet people and they see you, they don't see you as a tourist or someone just passing by. You're more of a traveler, and kids wave, and if you stop, people come up and talk to you, and it's you would never do that to someone traveling by car, I guess.
So what is Nomad Sweden? Actually, I'm really jealous that you've actually got a name for your gang.
Yeah,
because we have a gang. People refer to us as the Adventure Spec Crew.
Oh yeah,
or the Shoot and Ride Gang.
Oh
or something like that. But we really need a proper name, don't we?
You want a tattoo?
Well, that would be the ultimate game, I think. Yeah, to get a name and get the motherfucker tattooed on you that big on your chest.
They got that name and logo, and we needed a place to just upload some really bad video in the beginning, and I was trying that out also with some old cameras, and of course we named the channel Nomad Sweden, and at first it was a bit of another dump of videos. It wasn't a planned, let's start a YouTube channel and people are going to watch it. It's very much, even today, although we know that we now have a lot of people that watch the videos, but what we do when we meet every week, we look at, which are we going to watch tonight? And just remember, because it all blends together otherwise. But watching the videos is something that it's memory lane a bit.
Yeah. So Greg always says that he doesn't watch his old videos, but I watch them all every now and again because, like you say, it's happy memories of fun times you've had.
And then you start doing things like, just because other YouTubers do that, you review something or you show how you change a tire or whatever. I guess the video thing is me, but so some people may think that I am Nomad Sweden, but actually people have gotten to know the other guys now. I'm just a window into what we do, and I'm not sure of what it's kind of a success. We have quite a few subscribers now. It's not like the big ones, but I think the secret is that we are a tight little gang of old friends. We always ride us four, and we have very good chemistry.
I enjoy the conversation from your headsets when you're riding along, and there's some nice funny bits there.
It's in Swedish, but I'm glad it comes through anyway. And
you can put the caption control on so you can actually see what you're saying.
Yeah, and I type that for every video when we speak Swedish. So
I really enjoy it, and I don't normally enjoy it, but I really quite enjoy the swearing in a Swedish accent.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the Swedish language funny. Or accent?
No, in a Swedish accent. It just sounds very funny. It's always very well timed and well used. And it really got me thinking, because I've so far not embraced using an intercom, and I've almost been against it really. But when I watch your films and hear that dialogue, you sort of I got a taste of it and thought, well, actually, it's quite appealing actually to be able to communicate like that. Especially
when you are traveling, and not only for the practical stuff that go left up there or whatever, but when you're sharing experiences together and comment on things that you see, it's I enjoy that very much. But of course you cannot go 10 people in a group and all have intercoms, so that would be us four works well.
And no, we can actually say, look, there's a coffee shop, we need to stop here, or 10 minutes later, look, there's a nice place for lunch, and plan the day properly. You guys all ride, and I think kind of getting onto the terrain in Sweden now, you guys all seem to ride quite big bikes compared to what a lot of people ride in the UK. And I'm guessing that's probably down to the terrain and the distances you're able to do.
It is. I would like the need of a smaller bike because that would be fun to have that much technical terrain and stuff like that. So I've looked at all kinds of smaller bikes, but then I think to myself that because we on a normal ride that we go on, that would be about 400 km or something like that. And there's quite a lot of asphalt and transport to get to the places. And today we're going north of the Lake Vänern, and today we're going down to the southern part of Sweden or whatever. And the toughest terrain that we will encounter is even, it's easy enough for even the 1200 GS to, and that's quite a good bike anyway. Shouldn't mention it as a completely incapable of doing off-road. But
so what bikes do people have in the group?
Me and Simor, we have the T7s, the Tenere 700s, and now Stefan went back to KTM, the 890. Tony, he's the tallest guy, so he can handle his Africa Twin quite well also. So he likes that one. I think he's looking twice at the 901 now, the Norden.
Looks nice. And do you think those are the right bikes, do you think, for riding in Sweden?
On the TET forum or group on Facebook, people sometimes ask the question, what, I have this or that bike, is that okay to go on the Trans-Europe Trail through Sweden, and what tires do I need? We always answer that 99% of the TET in Sweden can be done on a Goldwing with 3 tires, because it's a lot of gravel roads, and the whole of Sweden is gravel roads. There are a few parts that are single track and so on, but it's not a lot. So you won't get any action, but you will get wilderness and nice views, but not any off-roading to get too much excited about.
So a lot of the gravel roads, they're not in between. They're not just forest-lined tracks in a straight line for mile after mile. There are views to see on the TET, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely. But most of it is, of course, because we have that much forest, 75% of the area is through forests. But if you get a bit north, then you get the views also. Yeah, I guess you will get that down south also, but you need the terrain to be a little bit hilly.
What I really like the idea of in Sweden, as you mentioned in one of your videos, there's some people have cabins and little lodges that are open to anybody and everybody. And there's you showed a map, and there's an awful lot of them as well.
Yeah, there's a couple of thousand. I think it's about 3,000 wind shelters, they're called. And they are of different categories. You have the shelters that are for just, stopping and making a fire or something, but there's no sleeping places arranged. You could, of course, pitch your tent. And then you have the shelters that are made for sleeping, but it's just a shelter. It's open in one end and just wind and rain shelter. And then you also have the real cabins.
These, Noel, are effectively like, we call them bothies in the UK, and the bothies are normally quite often in mountainous areas in the UK. But again, you can basically just turn up and use them as you see fit, really.
Yeah, and I guess that's a Scandinavian thing. You have them in Norway and Finland also, but I think in Sweden you have the real quantity of them. It's a cultural thing also, I guess, because you have them around all the little towns and villages. Also, if there's a forest, you have a place where you can go there and make a fire and grill something or whatever.
It sounds great. But they're generally open on one side. They don't have a door and windows. They've got an open side to them.
The most common sort of the way they look is that you have a little lake or pond of some sort, and you have 3 walls and a roof, and the open part is towards a fireplace and the lake. So you get the view. And
it sounds great.
They're amazing. And I believe, certainly in Norway, as we found out from Thomas, wild camping is fine. You can pretty much do that as long as you're away from everybody's houses. Is that the same in Sweden?
Yeah, we have pretty much the same rules that apply there. You can pitch your tent pretty much anywhere in nature, and you can roam free, and you can pick mushrooms and berries, and regardless of who owns the land, as long as you don't disturb anyone or disturb nature, of course. Because of all the shelters, if you want to travel around Sweden, you don't really need a tent or hammock for shelter. You need a sleeping mat because, there are wooden surfaces there. The reason to bring a tent or hammock would mainly be for the insects, because that's the easy way to get some sort of mosquito net around you.
And the mosquito season will be the same as Norway, I imagine, won't it? It'll be the middle of summer when it's the worst.
Yeah, the further north you get, the bigger the mosquitoes get. Some are like small birds almost. They can suck you dry in one.
This is very tempting. If I'm going to come from Amsterdam to Sweden, what's my best route? Just to sort of take the direct motorway to get to it as quickly as possible? Or do I sort of head onto the sea to get to it?
Yeah, but normally it would be through Denmark. And if you don't want to go there are some ferries and so on. But you always end up in the very southernmost part of Sweden. And the first, let's say, 100 kilometers or something like that is not very exciting because just flat and asphalt. But then when the forests start, you get some taste of Sweden quite early on. If you stick in the middle, of course, the coastlines are very beautiful also. The typical Swedish adventure riding you get in the forests, of course.
When we arrive in May 2023, what would be, and we have, we're arguing the toss now between 5 days and 7 days.
And a month.
Yeah, we're not going to get a month, that's for sure, apart from you, Noel. So where should we head to? Are there any highlights, any great places we should try and visit, or do we just head north on the Tet?
I think the big attraction is not a place to go and see and so on. It's not Eiffel Tower standing anywhere, but I think the reason to come riding in Sweden is the countryside, which is really nice and old in a way, and you have these old stone walls and things like that, and really old and nice country, and you have the freedom to just pick a place to stop for whatever and camp and all that. So that becomes a thing that I think perhaps differs from other countries when, where we're going to sleep tonight. You're not looking for booking.com or anything, but you're looking for parts in the nature where it would be nice to spend the night.
The Tet in Sweden is 2,841 kilometers, and it dips into Norway at some point and back out again.
And it branches off also a little bit. It comes like a upside down Y from the south, and then it also connects from the west coast.
The Tet is handy for us as a sort of ready formulated route, but presumably Sweden is just covered in tracks to ride on.
I'm not sure if you've seen my video that's called ADV Like a Swede. That video, I wanted to explain how to do it in Sweden, how it works, and also in a way so that people would dare venture off the Tet, actually, because as you mentioned, most of the small roads and forest tracks there are like the Tet. They just picked one path through Sweden there. So, and in that video I explain first of all how the road networks work, and there you have the small towns and villages and cities, and sort of a straight line between them you have the blacktop, the tarmac roads. In the middle of all this, the sort of triangles, the area in between the tarmacs roads, there's all gravel. There are no asphalt roads in between, because normal countryside road in Sweden is gravel if you're on the countryside. I think I googled it, how much gravel roads do we have in Sweden. I think I found something like 350,000 kilometers of gravel roads, and also in that video taught how it works, why we need to be respectful on those roads. We're not bothering with laws, because if you break a law, you get a fine and then that's done. But here you have to show respect, because it's not government maintained roads. It's maintained by the farmers and those living in that area that uses those roads, and they can put up a gate or whatever whenever they like. If you do something stupid, maybe there's a gate there next time you come around.
Speeds are generally pretty low on those roads then for you.
Especially around houses and things like that. But then of course you have these long stretches and where you can pick up the speed, of course, but you really need to consider the people living there and be polite and wave and all that. And I guess you do that. You need to do that in wherever you go, I guess. Yeah. But adventure riding is becoming so popular now, so it's actually becoming a topic and a problem, especially when you get these GPX files shared where everyone goes the same track.
You mentioned your videos, and you've covered this kind of thing in a video rather than on a podcast. How do we find you on YouTube?
Just search for Nomad Sweden. There's a library of videos under our channel. I think I counted it to 106 videos now on different topics. It's a mixture of course, rides, the typical rides that we do. We go out, ride in the woods, and then we wild camp somewhere, and then we go home. And that seems to be even more popular than if we try to go somewhere exotic, and we did this Eastern Europe and mountains in Albania and whatever. No, we want wild camping in Sweden.
Well, I do recommend your Balkans video, because I watched that one today, and as you say, it's quite long, but I watched it from start to finish, and it's very good.
Oh, it's great, absolutely great.
And it makes me want to go.
How does the Swedish comments work for you guys? Don't understand anything what we're saying, but we have the subtitles, and it works.
Spot on, absolutely. It's very entertaining.
It's nice having the mixture. I always feel slightly guilty when you're speaking English all the time. It always makes me feel slightly guilty as well, in a way.
Okay, yeah. Well, try to keep the viewers sort of up to date in English when we talk to the camera. But we talked about it, and should we talk English in between ourselves? Then we wouldn't get that.
It wouldn't be natural, would it?
The natural dynamic that we.
No, it's fine. And once you've got subtitles on there, I think it works very well, and I think that having a mixture works well.
Yeah, it does. It works really well.
Yeah, good. Yeah, and then we just try different things on there with reviews and how-tos and whatever.
Bike reviews and bike comparisons always seem to be very popular.
Not that much bike reviews, but I have to admit that the channel got really kick-started by me getting the Tenere 700 and making videos on that bike, because it was quite early, October 2019, I got my bike. You couldn't demo ride it even. I just knew I wanted that bike. Everything we did on that bike, because America didn't even have it for a year or something like that. So it was a big hunger for that kind of content. So that sort of was our cheating start there.
Have you done a lot to it?
To the bike? Mostly cosmetic stuff, because I'm a vain guy, I guess. No, I just like the decal kit and the bash plate from favorite Italian blacksmith, Mr. GP Mucci.
Yeah.
Performance-wise, I've only done what everybody should do, and just get the springs set for your weight, and then you're off.
The Africa Twin looks great. I didn't sort of recognize it for a while, because all the Africa Twins you see in the UK are pretty much the traditional red, white, and blue with gold rims. We don't really see many black ones. So I really had to do a double take at it to think, I can see a Honda badge. It took me a while to work out what it was. It looks great.
That was Stefan's, and he sold it actually for the KDM now. So they are still searching for the perfect one.
And you only have one bike?
Yeah, me, Stefan, and Seymour, we only have our bikes. Actually, Seymour has Enduro also. That's what you need in Sweden, really. You have these midweight adventure bikes like the KTM and the Tenere. But yeah, you have the Africa Twin. If you can handle it, it's a very capable bike also. You can have fun with it. We go to enduro tracks also when just play around, and then you can go to Greece on them.
Are there any particular laws that we need to be wary of when we visit Sweden, either on the road or otherwise?
No, not really. We have the law of Jante, if you heard about that, but that's not a real law. That's don't do anything to get on a too nice bike and look too flashy or rich, because people will envy. You keep it. Oh, we also have this word called lagom, which also reflects that. Lagom is not too much. So just keep everything lagom and so you'll be safe.
Looking behind Noel and his garage, would you say that was a lagom amount of Hondas that he's actually got there? You can't even see all of them.
No, that wouldn't fly in Sweden, I guess.
They all have a purpose.
You've got two of the same bike again. You keep doing that.
That makes no sense, does it? They're slightly different. Can you?
Yeah. Of course. No, but we don't have any real laws that worth mentioning, really. We're not that exotic. We ride on the right side, of course, but other than that, I can't think of anything. Everything is quite easy. You don't even need to bring cash. We don't really pay with cash anymore, except Tony.
I think, are you getting at, we're always paranoid when we ride in France that the law always, for a while, it always seemed to change, that we had to have a breathalyzer, or we had to have a triangle or a fluorescent jacket or reflectors.
No, not really. No. I heard about that also, and you need the reflective stickers on the helmet or whatever.
Nothing like that.
Nothing like that.
No.
It's quite chill. Just go ride, and I don't think you will see a police unless you're sort of transporting on an asphalt road somewhere. But usually you stick to the gravel roads anyway.
Yeah. Oh, he's really selling it to me.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It sounds amazing.
That sounds great. A lot of what we covered in Thomas, I guess, is common really for Norway and Sweden. Are kind of geographically in the same region, so the dates you would recommend to arrive, the climate and the bugs are all fairly similar, I guess, to
Sweden, Norway and Finland, except that nobody understands what the Finns are saying. At least us Swedes and Norwegians, we speak with each other in our native tongue, and that works pretty well, but not with the Finns. But it's pretty much the same there. But of course, Sweden and Finland is quite similar in nature and topography and so on. And Norway, of course, I think back in the days they got the short straw because logistically and everything, they got the worst part of Scandinavia with all these fjords and stuff. Yeah. It's a nightmare to good luck running that country. Now it's sort of the other way around, I guess. With we are envious on them for all the beautiful sceneries and fjords and mountains.
You sort of think tunnels must have transformed Norway. It must have been a totally different game crossing Norway for the tunnels. Yeah, that was the big shock I got when I went to Norway. Was just how many seemed like hundreds of kilometers I rode through tunnels. I just wasn't expecting it at all. Tunnels that went uphill and downhill and round corners.
Yeah. But the road system is quite different because they have much more toll roads and you pay for the tunnels and whatever. You don't really pay anything riding on the roads in Sweden. You have in Stockholm and Gothenburg, if you're in a car and want to drive into the very center of the city, then there are scanners and you will get a small bill for riding there. But other than that, there are no toll roads in Sweden whatsoever.
So where's best then, Norway or Sweden?
Depends. Sweden is much cheaper, of course.
Is it really, though?
It's very expensive for us to go to Norway also. Some things is, I would say, at least 50% more expensive in Norway than in Sweden.
Go on, what's fuel for a litre for you at the moment?
Oh, that's gone up like mad. We have these green parties also in the politics, and they sort of banned fossil fuel. But we pay about, I'm going to say that just for ease of counting, 10 crowns is €1. Wow. That would be that a liter of gas for the bike would be 170, between 170, 180.
Yeah, so it's about the same.
A pint of beer or a 0.6 of a litre?
Since I never drink beer in the middle of touristic city or whatever, I'm at the countryside, and if I go to the pub here, I'd pay about €7 or something like that for just from the tap.
Yeah, draft.
Something.
Yeah.
But then you can get all the fancy beers, of course, all these microbreweries, and they.
In Sweden, if you want to buy weak beer, you can go to the supermarket. But if you want to buy stronger beer or wine, do you still have to go to a?
Yeah, we have the monopoly with alcohol, and you can buy in the normal supermarket up to 3.5% alcohol in the beer. So as a teenager, you pee a lot. Yeah. And then we have Systembolaget, as it's called, the big monopoly. It's good and bad. They control everything, what you can buy and so on. But the service is great, and you have this huge catalog of. I could get a quite rare Scotch whiskey, and quite cheap also. I heard that some buy through Sweden because we don't set the market price for anything. It's only what they can buy it for in these large quantities, and then they add tax to it and nothing else. Alcohol is not cheap, but if you want to buy expensive alcohol like whiskeys and things like that, then the more expensive they are, the cheaper Sweden gets.
I just know every time we visit Sweden, we have to bring whiskey and vodka with us. Oh, well, listen, this has been fantastic. So thankful for you to do this. Really appreciate it. And
yeah, me too. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure and an adventure.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Well, hopefully we will. If you don't come to England, we're definitely coming to Scandinavia in 23. So we'll catch up with you in Sweden.
Yeah, give us a ping and we'll meet you up for a ride for sure.
So I just wanted to add another massive thanks to Robert from Nomad Sweden. Have a search on YouTube for Nomad Sweden, and there's plenty of great content there, looking at not only Sweden, but also some great videos where they've travelled all over Eastern Europe. Well worth a look. For more details about the ferry, have a look at www.hollandnorwaylines.com, and you can find the ferries which are running from the 7th of April this year in 2022, forgive my pronunciation, from Emshaven in Holland to Kristiansand in Norway. We will be booking our ferry shortly and travelling out in 2023. Hopefully it's still running by then. We need everybody to get on board and make this ferry service a success. One final thing. We really enjoy getting some interaction from people that listen to the podcast. We really appreciate everybody that gets in touch with us with ideas and suggestions and feedback. So I've been chatting to Alan of Breeze Riders fame, and between us we've had an idea for something that Alan is going to help us with. We're really keen to make this a listener-led podcast. And to be honest, most of the A-list adventure riders don't even bother to respond to our emails. But that's okay. We'd love to hear from everybody. We want to get everybody, as many people as possible, involved in the podcast. So what we're asking you to do is to send us in your own recordings to help us build episodes of the podcast. So record something, you can just do it on your phone. Phone recordings these days are actually pretty good quality. Send us in recordings telling us the stories of some of your best trips, best tips for trail riding, whether it's camping, equipment, whatever. And also send us in reviews of some of your favourite bits of kit. We're looking for stories that are maybe up to 5, possibly even 10 minutes long. Don't forget to tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you ride. And you can send your recordings to the TAMP podcast@gmail.com. That's the TAM podcast@gmail.com. We really would love to hear from as many of you as can be asked to send in some good stuff. Don't worry too much about the quality or fumbling your words. That can all be sorted out in the edit. But we'd love to hear from you all. Let us know what you think. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate your support. Don't forget you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And if you really appreciate what we do, you could consider supporting us on Patreon or buy us a coffee. Links are available on our website, which is tampodcast.com, tampodcast.com, where we also have a limited selection of branded stuff. But either way, please keep listening and spreading the word. See you next time.